Okay. Good morning, everyone, and I hope you're having a great day. I'm having a good day. I have not lost power, so I'm very thankful for that. So, my name's Sugi Yamaga, and today on VTubing my slow life hobbies in my 30s, I'm going to be talking about edible plants. So, here's how this is going to go. So, I have this tray here. This is going to be the sample tray. This has got lots of different edible plants that I've gathered yesterday on it. Also, over here in this white bordered container, this one, I also have a couple lookalikes that are similar to plants in this container, and just kind of like a hey, watch out while you're out for it type stuff. I also noticed this large bowl. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be selecting various plants out of here. We're going to identify them. We're going to talk I'm going to talk a little bit about them. And then from there, we're going to take these plants and we're going to put them in the bowl. Well, I'm going to basically, as I go through and talk about all these plants, we're going to build a salad. That's going to be kind of like what we're doing. And then I also prepared a bowl full of Eastern redbud flowers, just to have a snack. Also, I wanted more than on my branch here, so I've got a few more samples of different things. If I run out of main plants to talk about, I have I have some other stuff I can like yap about and such. So, but yeah, one moment. Yeah. That's one of the issues with how I harvest the Eastern redbud flowers. Sometimes I'll get like a little twig. Like, oh wow. Not everything in that mouthful was soft. But yeah, go. Wild edible plants. Most important thing you can do to keep yourself safe is always make sure you accurately identify the plant you're working with. That is the most important thing you can do to keep yourself safe during this. You must also... So, some of you may have noticed I have a bit of a disclaimer. That's because doing this is kind of not just one skill, but a couple. You gotta know a couple of different things. You gotta be able to identify plants accurately. You gotta be able to know what you're looking for when you're trying to ID these plants. And you gotta learn to size up the location where it's growing. So, for example, for everything you're gonna see today, this all came from my property. This is all stuff that I gathered. Granted, one of the downsides of being limited by my property is I'm limited by what's growing. There's some stuff that I know that is some pretty good like spring edibles, but they just haven't come up yet. Granted, actually a spring edible that hasn't come up just yet is hostas. I actually do have a couple of hostas. I actually bought some more hostas from Costco. I need to plan out at some point, but I'll get to that when I get to that. But yeah, you gotta learn to identify like the site where the plant was growing. So, as the owner of my property, under no circumstances do I ever, I don't often use chemicals. I very rarely use chemicals. I very rarely will use pesticides, herbicides, various things like that. Really the only time I reach for that stuff is when I'm trying to control crabgrass, which I'm actually wanting to get a weed torch this year to control the crabgrass I got, so that way I can use a non-chemical method to controlling that stuff. And also, I haven't been very successful with chemical routes for crabgrass, so it's like, okay, I want to try something new for controlling that. But yeah, proper site evaluation is very important. You may be wondering, what's site evaluation? Site evaluation is looking at the land, looking at how water moves across the land, and if there's any like source pollution. Source pollution would be like busy roadways, railroad tracks, industrial sites. You gotta be, can't just be like going out anywhere into the wild and finding plants to eat. You gotta take care of yourself, and you gotta make sure, because even though a plant species could be edible, if the plant species was growing in, let's say, bad ground or contaminated ground, contaminated soil, then there's a very good chance that that plant could pick up those toxins, and when you ingest the plant, you can get those toxins in you. So you want to be real careful when you're working with plants. But which is also why, if you're gonna like actually go out and do this, by all means, take a class, because usually most places have like foraging. There'll be like a guy or someone who will do like foraging classes. But yeah, also have a good book. This is actually one of my personal favorites for my location on the rotation: Edible Wild Plants, Eastern Central North America. It's real nice. If you're looking for a field guide and you say like this isn't available to you, okay, I gotta take a phone call. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. But that was actually just a friend checking on me, so it's all good. Okay. So, kind of talked about a little bit about site selection, sizing up sites. Oh, wait. That's what I was going to do. So, a lot of field guides talk about like field guide selection. So, a lot of field guides will have pictures, and pictures are fine. But if you're out there and you're looking for... Dude, you're fine. You're just checking in on me. You're being a responsible... Well, you're looking out for a friend. But yeah. So, I will suggest always get a field guide that uses illustrations over pictures. Because illustrations, you can get a lot more detail, and you can see more particular identifying characteristics of the plant. So if you're just some general guidelines, if you're looking for like, because I've actually got a couple of field guides, because I've got this one, I've got my backyard foraging. This is a fun one. And then I also have my old school book. And I call this my old school book because this book was originally published 150 plus years ago. But that's that one. That's kind of like field guides. So, kind of talked a bit about field guides. Kind of talked about site selection. Let's grab a plant. I think I'm gonna grab this one. I want to start with these kind of guys. So, just gonna grab just a sprig. Start. So, we have here is henbit. Flower fell off. Woo. Okay. So, this is henbit. This is a member of the mint family. Its genus name is Lamnium. And this is a very common... So, stream title, I should probably also explain that, is Welcome to the Cosmopolitan Buffet. And that is, a lot of the plants that I am talking about today are what are known as cosmopolitan plant species. You'd be asking, what's a cosmopolitan plant species? It is a plant species that has been spread around the globe due to European settlers, which is also kind of one of the nicer things about a couple of my plant selections here, is even if you're not in Eastern North America, some of this stuff probably actually does grow near you. So, but yes, this common name, henbit. There's going to be a couple of plants today that are going to have something of a similar name, if you will. Yummy, yummy. Okay. It's an alright. Henbit's a solid alright. Some people don't like it. Me, I'm a weirdo who eats this for fun, and I enjoy it. Oh yeah, this is henbit. So, it is a member of the mint family, as I mentioned earlier, and you can tell that. Well, I can tell it by taking this stem and rolling it between my fingers. And you kind of tell it jerks 90-degree angles. That is because it has a square stem. I'm trying to grab my magnifying glass. Not sure if this goes go up for you very well. I mean, it's better than actual thing. But yeah. Wait. This is gonna be fun. But yeah, I have no skill. Ooh, wait. But yeah. You can kind of just see it just there. Sorry, my hand to magnification device coordination's not super great, but yeah. Square stems. So, if you have something that has a square stem, smells like a mint, you have a mint. This does not smell like mint, but it does have a very mint-like flower. Flower's bigger and I should be able to get... Kind of see it a little bit. To get... Ooh. Okay. I gotta line up like 3 things to do this. Gosh, this was terrible. But yeah. Mint-like flower. Leaves that clasp the stem. That's actually... I gotta swallow away. Food-wise. But the leaves clasps the stem. It's gonna, which is a differentiating characteristic of what's gonna be our next plant after that. So, yeah. Then I'm just gonna take it, break it up. You can use it basically fresh. This is how I use it for most salads. I just grab it, break it up. Also try to be a little bit careful here. Make sure, because some of my samples I've gathered today, I kind of just like grab the whole piece of dirt. So we're just gonna grab a couple of this bit off and throw it in here. So it is closely related to purple dead nettle, which is going to be our next plant. Yeah, I mean, there's really not a whole lot to talk about it, because, I mean, I'm not going to get into a lot of the other uses. I'm going to keep a lot of my talking down to, like, the simple stuff, like how to identify it, edibility, different stuff like that. And how, well, so a lot of the edible plants will take some will take preparation work. Nearly everything I'm talking about today, nearly everything, you can just literally pick it up, dump it into your salad bowl, you're good to go. Very straightforward, very simple stuff. Also, just do anything too complicated. Separate thing here. Kind of like put stuff off to this. Yeah. I couldn't find any like real big thick clumps of hembent because my soil does a lot better growing our next guy, which is this one. This one. This is a lot bigger. A lot bigger, and this is the one that actually does like really well on my property. For some soil types, hembent will do better. Other times, you'll have like a lot of this. This is purple dead nettle. And it's called a dead nettle because it actually has no stings, whereas like an actual nettle will have spiky parts. But so far, my spiky part plants haven't really made their presence known yet. So this is purple dead nettle, Landium purpurulum. Pretty straightforward Latin name. And as you can see, this is bigger and looks a lot healthier, but it's actually very similar to hembent. Oh, but unlike hembent, is purple dead nettle's leaves actually have stems, except when you get like closer up into the flower head. But even then, they'll still have like a bit of a stem to them. The base of the leaf won't be hugging the stem. Now, I'm gonna break this because this one's a little bit larger. You guys can see it. I think you guys can see this a little bit better. So we still have the square stem going on. And it's a square hollow stem. Then you have like flowers. Oh, pretty easy ID. It's a pretty easy ID. Granted, both purple dead nettle and hembent do have a lookalike, which I'm gonna grab. Which that will be the next plant that I grab. The lookalike. But for now, I'm gonna grab me some purple dead nettle and just break it up, put it in my salad bowl here. So, a big reason why I'm a pretty big fan of purple dead nettle, because as you can see, it's big. It has good mass. It's really, this is like one of my favorite. This is like my favorite bulking green for salads this time of year, because I can just grab a whole mat like this. It's like boom, greens for salad. Salad successful. So Really good. It's a plant I enjoy a lot for its use in salads. Even though some people really do not like using it for salad. Some people are not a fan of the purple dead nettle, which is quite understandable because, well, I'm gonna eat a leaf right quick. It is bitter. And also, purple dead nettle. Really hard to tell with my camera, but it does have some soft hairs to it, and those can be a little irritating to the throat on its way down. Oh. No. If you're trying edible plants for the first time, always try a little before you eat a lot, because you may not know if you have like an allergic reaction or if the plant has some like irritating chemicals or something. A note of caution there. As for me, I've eaten several salads of this year so far, so I am not. This plant does not cause any reactions with me, but I did have a coworker who actually, good for him, starting some raised beds this year, and yeah, this stuff was causing some reactions with him. So he kind of wasn't a fan of it. But yeah, that's just a quick note of warning. Be careful when you're like first eating, but like foraging as a skill is best built up over a long time. Like, I've been putting wild edible plants into my mouth for honestly the better part of my life. Like, since I was a kid. And then I grew into an adult, and I ended up hanging around adults that taught me more stuff, and then I grabbed books, and then I learned from my books, and just kind of all went from there. So definitely something you want to like ease yourself in. Want to try stuff like here and there. You don't want to like dive into you don't want to do exactly what I'm doing right now, making a big meal of wild plants from a bunch of different species. You don't want to do that. Not for your first time. Something at this level is best left to the experts at this point. So, looks like I got a lot of the. I tried to get like these fluffy heads. Yeah. Now we got a bit of a salad going. But yeah. Oh, that's purple dead nettle. But I'm actually gonna share a second use that I found out about just last year. Can't confirm I've watched Sugi eat wild plants in the wild. Yes, I've eaten many a wild plants. But used for purple dead nettle that I found out about last year because I was watching a forager on YouTube talk about purple dead nettle, and he was like, regardless of what people say, I don't like eating this in a salad. Perfectly honest, I tolerate this in a salad. Granted, we're going to be hitting this with some redbud flower. Redbud flowers are great. I love redbud. But another use turned me on to this. So, these are dried purple dead nettle flowers, and you can actually make a really nice tea with them. So that's actually what I'm going to do right now. So, I'm going to get me a nice of these flowers. Well, it's actually flowers and stems. And one of the nice things with some of these like early spring emerging plants is you'll get a second season in late fall when the plants actually like when the temperatures cool down. They'll be like, ooh, we can do some stuff with these temperatures, and then like they'll like come out again. Granted, sometimes a fall flush of spring edibles, well, of like these primarily spring season plants, is the fall crop will be better, will be more better. But yeah, so I got my T-ball, cover up my thing, and wait. One moment. Okay. So kettle's going, but yeah. Kind of see I got a jar here. I've already went through one of these jars. I made 2 jars of dried purple dead nettle. I actually need to make some of this year's crop. Well, the spring. Probably do a spring of it, but I have not done that just yet. Oh, that's that. Oop, okay. So, we're gonna get some tea going, but while I'm waiting for water to boil, let me grab one of our dreaded lookalikes. If I can. I don't want to pull all the plant. I want this plant. Plant, please. I don't want it dripping into my bowl, so here we go. So, this common name, ground ivy. And it is very similar looking to the other two. But the most distinctive characteristic of ground ivy that differentiates it from the laniums is the flower color. Because the flower color is like it's this very like indigo blue color versus purple dead nettles and hembent's pinkish colors. And this is also like a thing that's pretty consistent across all my exposure to these plants. Well, like these plants growing in different environments, because one thing about plants is sometimes they will change a little bit depending on growing conditions. Like if a plant's stressed, or if plant's stressed, sometimes if it's growing in a very different style of habitat, it will kind of change a little bit. But in my experience, ground ivy has always had these blue to indigo flower colors versus pink. And also, unlike henbent, our little leaves here, all the leaves along the stem, they all have petioles. They all have stems. So that's another identifying characteristic that separates this from henbent. Purple dead nettle. For purple dead nettle, I need good leaf. Generally speaking, purple dead nettle has larger leaves, and also they're kind of a... Let's see here. They're more of a triangle shaped, whereas these are more consistently a scalloped. But really, the flower color is the main thing I look for that distinguishes these from the laniums that we first talked about. Another distinguishing characteristic of ground ivy that they can't share with you is the smell. So this is more of a medicinal plant. It's not something you can throw into a salad and eat. I'm sure in small amounts you can, but just like handling this plant right now, like it smells medicine-y. Well, let's see. Yeah, like it just has... It has more of an odor to it. Whereas the lamniums, purple dead nettle, henbent, those don't really have much. They're very neutral. Honestly, they smell like hay more so than anything, whereas the ground ivy, that actually smells medicinal. And my water's done for my purple dead nettle tea. this is going to be our purple dandelion tea. I honestly don't make a whole lot of tea out of edible plants, mostly because I'm interested in either one, a quick snack, or something I can put in the salad. But this was actually a really nice thing to discover last year, because it's actually a fairly reasonably hearty tea. Like, it feels like it has a bit of volume to it. It's nice for that. But the flavor can be a little strong, and the next time I make tea in this cup, it will have a little bit of the purple dandelion taste. So I guess a slight word of caution on how that's going to affect your tea container. So, let's see. We can put. Oh yeah, that's ground ivy. It's more of a medicinal plant. It's not necessarily an edible plant. And for those who are like, what's the difference? There's a whole world of difference. This is the whole reason I don't like it when my friends call me, well, my friends on a couple occasions have compared me to the main character from Apocryphy Diaries, Mau Mau, because I eat wild edible plants, but Mau Mau's she's more interested in like the medicinal side, versus I'm more interested in, can I use this for food? And there's actually a very big difference there, which some people here might say that's just semantics, but no, it's important. It's important. I am an edible plant person. I am not a medicinal plant person. Mostly because medicinal plants come with higher stakes, and also you gotta worry about your dosing. It's a lot more. It's even more skills than just straight foraging it. But yeah, so that's our look-alike for the Landiums, and that's ground ivy. So, trying to get salad going. So, kind of talked about the Landiums. Hey, whatever you said. Okay, buddy. Okay. Okay. This guy's also dripping. Drip onto my salad. I don't want soil drippings on my salad. So, here we are. One of the one of the great classics of the cosmopolitan plant species, dandelion, which coincidentally gets its common name from how lion's teethy the leaves. Oh, dandelion identifying characteristics: it is a basal rosette, is how it grows. And you're like, okay, anime person, what's a basal rosette? Basal rosette is you have a strong central taproot, and then you basically have your whole plant is like fanned out like a plate with the flowers in the middle. Which this doesn't really look very... It does not look very much like that, but in the original thumbnail for this stream, I had a really good example of dandelion for that. So, basal rosette, yellow flowers, and also all dandelions are edible, by the way. Generally speaking, they don't... I'm not really aware of any, like, toxic lookalikes for dandelion. But another identifying characteristic is kind of see it there at the end where I've snapped this leaf into. It has a milky sap to it. So if you've got a milky sap, whenever you snap the leaves, you've got dandelion. So that is the identification part of dandelion. Now, some people consider dandelion can be a lot like purple dead nettle in that it's definitely on the bitter side, which I'm going to remind myself right now. But yeah, dandelion's pretty bitter. So, but it's not like a, it's actually kind of a different bitter from purple dead nettle. And this is how I like to just prepare it. I just like to get some scissors. And I think if I remember right, the ends of these leaves are kind of like the most bitter part, so I just toss those aside. But dandelion's got a lot of edible parts to it. Because the root's edible. Some people... I don't know. I haven't put myself through the effort to do this, but supposedly you can make a coffee substitute. But as you can see here today, I'm a tea drinking guy, and I don't worry about finding coffee substitutes. So, not so worried about finding coffee substitutes from edible. As I mentioned earlier, I am more of, can I eat this? So, flower heads tend to be very bitter. The green parts of the flower, very bitter. But can also make a dandelion wine. And to do that, you need to actually gather up all the yellow parts. And then you'll like add some water, some sugar, let it ferment, yada yada yada, blah blah blah. Personally, I don't do that because that's not for me. But I am showcase something. Like, get this cut right. There we go. That's what I want. Check this out. I cut this right. Kind of. Okay. So. Dandelion is in the greater Compositaceae family. And that means is we might grab another close. I want to open one. Open one, please. Okay. So you might look at this and call this a flower. Technically speaking, this is flowers, plural. Because these two things right here, that's two flowers. So all the members of the Compositaceae family, basically what they do is they have a base, and then they have a whole bunch of flowers originating off that base. Different family from the mint family. So we went from the mint family of plants to the Compositaceae family. This is... if you were like making like a dandelion wine or something, this is what you would want. You want to separate out the green parts, and you would want to just have the petals of the flower, which they make for a real nice splash of color for like salads like this. Can I? If I will know about them. Neat. Hey, that's the whole point of today. I just don't... thing is, I don't snack on sunflowers very much. But I will kind of like... ooh. So I slice this open. I don't have the focus for it. But this base here is where like a little like turf ball of seeds will happen. Trying to separate all my non-bitter parts from my bitter parts. So salad. Because the thing is, I already have like enough bitter ingredients. I mean, that's kind of like the... being perfectly honest with you, this is a reason why probably most people don't consume a lot of these plants is because guess what, chat? They're bitter. Granted, some will be more bitter than others. But yeah. So that's dandelion. It's pretty good. It's some people prefer to cook them, but you can cook them as what's called a pot herb. Some people that with there's a lot of, granted, I know dandelions are something you can do a lot. I just don't do a lot with them because I keep a lot of my foraging and edible plant work to kind of a basic I'm kind of a basic bitch, if I'm being honest. Because I don't like working with stuff that requires like too much preparation. But yeah, bada bang, bada boom. We got dandelions in. Okay. So, kind of a, well, here's a little bit of the purple dandelion tea after it's been steeping for a little while. See, it has a bit of a ish color to it, but it's not like as intense as green tea. So, we've been talking about bitter plant. We've been talking about stuff you can eat, but it's not like super good eats. So, you have a super good eat. Didn't grab all of you, but that's fine. But here is our super good eat. Violets. Viola. And viola flowers are one of my favorite spring eat. Absolutely amazing. Also because, man, how do I describe this flavor? Like the flowers actually have like a nice flavor to them. Kind of like a floral flavor with like a hint of like savoriness to it. It's really good. I'm a big fan of it. Ooh, and that's even like that looks like a seed pod. Hey, there. That does not look like a, yeah. seed pod, cool. Oh yeah. Viola flowers. Top forage. Very good. Very tasty. Oh dear. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Due to the fibrous nature of some of this stuff, some of it does kind of scratch my throat going down, so be like a little careful. But yeah, so identification. Well, I personally consider it pretty straightforward. You have a violet-like flower. You have smallish, medium-sized leaves. They're kind of they're kind of heart-shaped. But yeah. And they grow from the time zone. That will, like, grow off. Start new violets. The leaves are... Been a while since I've had a violet. I'm pretty sure they're edible. But a lot of leaves will be edible when they're small, but they lose edibility as they mature because the cell walls develop and they stiffen up more, and it makes them kind of end up using your molars too much for me. And you don't, and that's just, it can be all right for some people, but some people don't like that. There's just a little bit of variability to that. Oh. But that one leaf I just had so good flavor to it. Grab a few leaves, trying to also focus on leaves that are young, leaves that are tender. Because tender leaves will always be better than non-tender leaves, regardless of like the edibility of this like young, real bright green leaf right here. That's good stuff. That's the good stuff. Whereas like when your leaves get like more deeply green, they're a little bit more mature. They're a little bit more. Cell walls have had time to thicken up, and you're basically just consuming. You're getting fiber. You're getting really good fiber, but it's just not as like not as tasty though. It's really not as. But yeah, that's Viola. Viola, one of my favorite, one of my personal favorite of my spring greens. Also really like it because like if I'm just putzing around the yard, doing stuff in the garden, just how do we say, taking in the sights, if you will. And I see viola flowers, I'll bend down, pick a few up, and just snack on them. One of my favorite snacks. And also, they do help bring it a little bit of color into the salad. Granted, we're going to be really working with some color when we get to the Eastern Redbud stuff. But that's when we get to the Eastern Redbud stuff. Granted, I am actually genuinely surprised. We've got through four of our species. Well, no, we got through four of our. Got through four things we threw salad. And a common look-alike. But yeah. That's the Viola. Oh. Time for the next. Oh, now we're going to the next one. And we're going to be keeping things good and tasty for our next one. Gotta had that one. Okay, so what we have here. Mustard. These are literally mustard greens. I'm not sure if they look familiar to what people buy in the store. But yeah, so mustard greens. These are a basil rosette, similar to dandelion, but much smaller. Like dandelion can become a big thing, a really big thing. Mustards are really small, except for these long flowering stalks that will have pods that will be full of mustard seed. So this is actually a species related to the plant that gives us mustard. And like this plant species that's given us mustard, the plant's got a lot more of a, it packs a lot more of a punch. Got like a, it's got like a spicy, people would think yellow for mustard, not green. From the color of, so mustard condiment is made from the ground up seeds that are in these seed pods here. But mustard greens are a thing you can actually buy, which mustard greens are actually just like the leafy bits of mustard. Because it's kind of like because I'm pretty sure some salad blends that you'll buy at like the supermarket will have some like mustard greens to them. And it kind of just gives the salad greens a bit of a punch. But that's also why I like to use like wild mustard. Also, this is why I'm just calling this mustard and not just like an actual species, because like dandelion, is a species. For purple dead nettle, I gave you the Latin name, Lanium purpurum. Mustard, all I'm concerned about is if I have mustard and has been grown in good soil, cool, is something I'm willing to throw into my salad. Primarily because mustard has... The mustard genus has like hundreds of entries. Violas are pretty big in terms of the number of species. Ooh, but I will say this. I will say this about the violas. Don't eat African violets. Because the African violets have a lot more hairs on them, and those hairs are a lot more irritating to the mouth and throat. It's not like toxic, but it's like, wow, this is really unpleasant to eat. And ask me how I know. That's how I know. Don't eat African violets. You're not going to have a good time. Oh, yeah. I will also say another thing with like these stems. They tend to be really tough, real fibrous. So, for my mustard, for my salad, I just like to cut it to short sections here, like this. And then it has some of the toughest parts of the plant. But if I can find a reasonably good mustard leaf, boop, I'll send that into my salad. Because I like that in my salad. I like the mustard. I really... One of the big downsides of mustard greens is there's just not a lot of substance to them, even though the flavor's there. Like, it's green, dandelion, green, bitter, purple dead nettle, green, bitter, henbent, green, bitter. We get a non-bitter green. That tastes good, but there's just not a lot of leaves to this man. Which is the downside. That's really like the big downside to mustard green. You don't get a lot of green on your mustard. You get mostly like flower stalk with some seed pods, which you can still use in yours. I'm still gonna use these into my salad. It's just I try to chop them up a little bit, so that way they're not in like big chunks. I don't want big chunks, because if I have big chunks, I will basically be flossing my teeth with the mustard greens. Don't want to do that. Undesirable outcome. But yeah, that's mustard. Really, really, really common. I find it everywhere. At least for my location on the rotation. And adds a nice punch to my salads. So, we're looking at a pretty good salad going so far. But we gave it a good punch of flavor. I think we should hit it with another. Which a certain individual who may or may not still be watching this stream will know our next entrant. This is wild garlic, and I'm going to try to avoid handling the roots because I don't want to clean dirt off my hands. So, wild garlic. As you can see, we have an oniony bulb. Sometimes you'll see little bulblets. It's actually how you'll find this like out in the wild. You'll just see a clump of it like this. It'll be growing like this. So, identification. Oh, if it looks... Oh, I know that. Yes, you do. This is a one I have made you consume. But yeah, let's see. Another identifying characteristic of it, well, other than, is if you grind it up, or if you like take a leaf, crush it between your fingers, it'll smell garlicky, oniony, that sort of thing. But also, the stem is hollow, so it's a hollow circle. And so if you've got all those characteristics, you now know you have wild garlic or field garlic. It has a couple of names, but yeah, this one's actually a pretty straightforward one to know. Granted, you have kind of a look-alike. So I'm just gonna snip up, get some lovely, delicious, garlicky green goodness into my salad. Ooh. I know what I got. Exactly what I got. Off near the base. There we go. And I can just poof into the salad bowl. See, these are actually... So, also, wild garlic can also be very fibrous. In case you're not paying attention, these plants being very fibrous, these are not domesticated plants. They're wild plants. They're rough, but this salad is going to be a whole lot of fiber for my GI tract. And that is going to be a fantastic thing for my personal health. So cheers to that. So, we talked about the garlic, the wild garlic. Now we have to talk about the ruggy of wild garlic. So, that's going to be this guy. And go. This is the lookalike. This is an actual poisonous plant. Granted, it's not poisonous to handle. This does not go in the salad. This is actually going to be. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, this is like the only actively poisonous plant that I'm going to talk about today on stream, just because this is very similar to the wild garlic. It grows like wild garlic. We have a bulbing plant that will grow in a dense cluster, so it grows in a similar way to the wild garlic. But this is not wild garlic. This is called Star of Bethlehem. Star of Bethlehem. And it's named that after its flower. So, this stuff is just coming up now. It is yet to flower, so I don't really have a flower for you guys to show. But there's 2 real easy things you can do to keep yourself safe. That is, gotta grab 1 leaf. Oh. One real easy identifying characteristic of this is that this leaf is flat. It's not cylindrical, it's not in a circle, it's flat. It is a flat leaf for the most part. It's kind of in a V shape, but it's flat for the most part. And also, even you guys should be able to see from where you're at, there is a white line down the center of the leaf. Wild garlic is a solid color. Whereas, as you can see, this stuff, some of these leaves have white stripes on them. Got white stripes. You have Star of Bethlehem, not wild garlic. Throw it away. You don't want that food. You don't want that food. It's not good food, man. But yeah. So, this is just the reason why I had Star of Bethlehem here is simply due to the fact that this is actually a real common look-alike, and for a lesser experienced forager, you can make that mistake of throwing this into your salad, and And I don't think this is like poisonous in the sense it's going to kill you. I think it's poisonous in the sense where you're going to have a really bad tummy ache. So don't have a bad tummy ache. Stick to your identification. And just watch out for the lookalikes, and you'll be good. So we have talked about 2 of our lookalikes from our lookalike bin. And we've actually got 3 more plants in this bin to talk about. So, talk about you. And I'm just gonna grab I just want to grab a little, just because I don't deal with having a whole thing. So now these next 2 plants are edible, but I will not be adding them to the salad bowl. They're not going into the salad bowl today, because the part I would like to add to my salad bowl is not available just yet. It's a little too early in the season. Actually, wait, no. Actually got 4 plants in there. Talk about. But yeah. So, this is Perfolium alba. White clover. So, clover's real easy identification. You have a series of heart-shaped leaves, typically 3, sometimes 4, and they'll be clustered on a stem. Now, how they attach to the stem is how you have a clover, because our last lookalike is oxalis, and this is actually how you tell the difference between a clover and a member of the Perfolium genus versus oxalis, which is in the oxalis genus, which bang. Okay, so Perfolium. Deer love to eat clover. Clover is very high protein, but it is also exceedingly fibrous, which is why I'm not putting this in my salad. But this is a clover. The leaves connect at the stem in sort of a T shape. 2 on the sides, 1 on top. This is oxalis. Oxalis, the leaves are at angles to each other evenly. Oxalis also contains oxalic acid. Genus is actually named for that acid, by the way, which is, it's not really a toxic thing. It can just be really hard on the kidneys and on some of the internal organs. So it's pretty benign, but the identification between oxalis and clover is really easy. It's not hard to screw up. Clover leaves are definitely one of those things that are edible, but I don't bother my time with, because these things are like, clover leaves are especially fibrous. And this is talking to a guy who's looking forward to eating this after stream. These are very fibrous. If I'm going to eat clover, I personally prefer to eat the flowers. The flowers have, they're a little bit more edible. They have a little bit more substance. Also, alba. Alba is Latin for white. So this is white clover. Has white flowers, is really low growing, does not get taller than, say, 4 inches or so, and is also a fantastic source for bees. Both clover, red and white, which I actually have some red. Red clovers are going to be the next thing I kind of yap about. I'm going to put this down now, because I do kind of want to do an aside thing. And that is, a lot of these plants are very important early spring forage for bees, because a lot of these are very early emerging plants, especially Lanium, well, the Laniums, purple dead nettle, henbit, dandelions. All these plants are very important fodder for bees, and not just like the honeybees that everyone thinks is so cute and cool. Well, I don't know. A lot of bee advocacy focuses on honeybees and not the native bees, which the native bees are numerous in terms of species, and they deserve to have a meal when they emerge out of winter and stuff. So, one of the big reasons why I like talking about these edible plants and such is I want to encourage people to kind of let nature do its thing. Let nature do its thing. And also, I'm just very anti-lawn. I'll be very honest about that. I do not like lawns, and I rather have this be my ground cover, if you will. All these edible plants, because this is food. It's not just food for me, it's food for other insects, which in turn also helps support, like, also if bird species and all that good stuff. And all that biodiversity of plants increases biodiversity of insects, and so on and so up through the, like, food levels, which is kind of just like a side stuff. So that's white clover that we just talked about. Next up on the dock is red clover, which red clover, as you can see, it's a lot taller, a lot more bushier. It's bigger, but it's still trifolium. Our leaves have the chevrons on them. White clover also, all the clovers will have these markings on them, these little chevron markings. And the leaves always form like T shapes. 2 leaves on the side, 1 on top. This one, 2 on the side, leaf on the top. That is going to be out the plant. That is your identifying characteristics for clover. Red clover, well, if you have flowers, the flower will be pinkish red. It won't be like a bright red, it will be more of like a pinkish red. But it's also like the size. White clover is more low growing, whereas red clover can get, I'd say, up to 18 inches tall. It's definitely a bigger clover versus the white clover. Sometimes on the... So, a very important fact about the clovers is that they're members of the pea family. This is a member of the pea family, by the way. The legume family. Legume family plants, they form symbiotic relationships with soil bacteria. And sometimes you'll see like little nodules on the plant roots, which is what I was looking for. But clovers help add nitrogen to the soil. One of the downsides of my land is that my land isn't exactly lacking nitrogen. So I don't have a lot of thriving clover. So I have a somewhat reasonably well balanced in terms of nutrients in the soil. But yeah, if you have an area in your yard that you're planning to convert to garden, and there's a bunch of clover already growing there, heads up, don't have a lot of nitrogen there, so you're going to want to go in with like a good nitrogen fertilizer when you plant into that soil. Because if clover's there and clover's thriving, then that means other plants can't thrive there, but plants that can basically work with soil bacteria to make their own nitrogen, they'll do a lot better. So, another fun, that's another fun thing you can kind of do when you learn to identify wild plants. Or just, this is kind of like, this is kind of just like IDing plants in general. If you learn the plants and the habitats they like to grow in, you can look at like an area of ground and you will be able to tell what that ground is like. Whether it's, because if you've got clover, really good in, it's lacking nitrogen. Dandelions, they like soil that's a little bit on the acidic side. And you can kind of just like sort of like get an idea of like the underlying dirt just by looking at what grows there, which I think is like a real fun, like neat skill that I've developed over the many years I've spent studying these plants. Oh, okay. Let's see. I think I'll finish. But yeah. Okay, so we'll go to this little guy next. And this little guy is not going to be going into our salad. This little guy is an edible plant. It is a plantago. I don't know if it's plantago major or I don't know if it's... So there's a couple... I think there's about like 5 or so species of plantains. And that's what these are. Around my location on the rotation. Plantain is definitely more of a proper pot herb. And by a pot herb, it is a herb that you wish to cook before consuming, which is one of the reasons why I'm not using it today. But plantain is a pretty neat edible plant. Because this is an edible plant that has medicinal uses that I'd be willing to like use. And that is, the leaves are very antiseptic. They're taking these leaves, brushing them, grinding them up, and putting them on a wound is actually a really good way to treat the wound. It was funny, my grandma, once upon a time, she was she was reading in one of her Amish newspapers that this plant was a really good plant to use for like treating wounds. And granted, this newspaper was suggesting chewing the leaves and then spitting the mass of chewed leaf onto the wound. I personally don't recommend that. You just want to like take these leaves and just grind them up between like 2 rocks or 2 bricks, or like, there's more sanitary ways to prepare this, is my point. But these also have a very fun fact about them. So when they eventually flower, it'll be a flower spike. It'll be about yay-ish big, maybe like 6 inches, sometimes maybe more. Granted, it depends on the species of plantain. Narrow-leaf plantain will have a long stalk, about a foot, and it will have like a small 1-inch seed head. This, I believe, is Plantago major. This will have a 6-inch. It will send out, it'll basically be a flower spike with seeds all along the sides. The seed casings that this plant makes, you can take the seeds and you can literally just pull them off the stalk. And then you can take them and you can eat them. And they make a fabulous bulking laxative. But yeah, you can make a really nice bulking laxative out of the seeds of this plant. So that was kind of I was like, this is something I can kind of like talk about and just be like, hey, it's a thing, it's here, da da da, blah blah blah. But yeah, so it has some pretty like basic level, like first aid level, medicinal uses that are pretty straightforward, and then you can also use it as a bulking laxative. And then if you actually are willing to cook your plants before you eat them, you can also do that with it as well. And you definitely want to, once again, favor these more like tender, young green leaves versus like the more mature leaves that are darker green, have a little bit more developed cell wall, a lot tougher, and more fibrous. Okay, so I think this covers nearly all the plants in here. But our last one. That last one is this very humble guy here. Just gonna grab a little. Oh, this is Stella Media. Common name chickweed. So, few identifying characteristics of chickweed. Chickweed is a mat-ish forming plant. Like, it'll just grow along the ground and it forms like big mats. And this is gonna be really hard to show you guys. There's a line of hairs on one side of the stem that when it hits a leaf node, it will flip to the other side of the stem. And that's kind of another identifying characteristic. And I now have to do the trickiest thing I'm going to do this whole stream. And that, show you guys the final. Ooh. Oh, not gonna push my luck too far here until I get this like kind of a bit more on. Really hard to see though. My camera just the detail for this. But there's an inner stretchy core. This plant that you can kind of tell. But chickweed here, this plant is gonna bring something to our salad, and it's gonna bring a flavor. Want to know what that flavor is? Flavor is corn silk. So the like little like silky things on an ear of corn. Chickweed tastes exactly like that. Exactly. Which honestly I think is real funny about chickweed as an edible plant. I need some water. Okay. So yeah, that's chickweed. I am gonna show you guys a photo, and this is actually the only photo I pulled prior to stream, but I really want to show you guys this. Here is the flower for chickweed. Now, chickweed is Latin name Stella Media. Stella meaning star. That's because of how like star-shaped the flower kind of is. So that flower looks like it has 10 petals. It's actually 5. If you kind of look really closely in this photo here, you'll see that the petals of the flower are very, very deeply like cut. Or in some circles, they'll use the word cleft. And when you have that, you 100% have chickweed. You can also see that so flowers have a couple of parts. The petals have a part behind them called the bract. If you look at the bract behind the petals in this photo here, you can see it makes like a star shape. So also another reason why it's called Stella, for the common name on it. But yeah, that's pretty much the primary identification characteristics of chickweed. And chickweed is actually another one of those edible plants that I could not find a lot of on my property because I just don't have the soil where it thrives. But I managed to find this much. Managed to find this much, so that was good. Yeah, I'm just be real careful through my thing here, just because. So I just pulled basically a whole flat of soil out of the ground that was mostly chickweed, but wasn't like 100%. So I was just trying to. I wanted to capture as much of like the matting as possible. I also wanted to get as healthy as possible because I really wanted to have a flower to show you, because I think the flower is real pretty. Granted, the flower is like small. It's a real small flower. Really gotta look for it if you want to. That away. I mean, these little things here are the things that turn into flowers. Chickweed flowers are very small. Very small flowers. Trying to also get the best parts, youngest parts, most delicious parts. Salad. Yeah. It was real funny. I actually visited my sister's house last year, and she had a container outside, and the whole container was just taken over by chickweed. Just straight chickweed. Which, that's sometimes a thing that happens. Here, just trying not to get dirt into what's gonna eventually, like this, kind of scraggly looking, you know? It's kind of just looks like it's just doing a little bit better than the grass. What my sister had was like this big bump that was healthy, and like you just go up to that, take a knife, cut some of it off, cut it up, boom, salad. Versus I just have like a little here in my salad. But hey, that's gonna be the thing with some of these plants. Some of these plants are gonna be like real healthy, real doing their stuff when they're in their like optimal habitat, and when they're not in their optimal habitat, they won't be doing as well. So yeah. So we have officially covered everything in our tray here. Pretty sure we've covered everything here. Talked about our lookalikes. So I've got 3 more species we're gonna go through. Yap about those. And then I'm gonna put the finishing touches on this salad. Show it off and be like, hey, I'm about to have a really good meal. And then that'll be stream. So we are doing real well. I also prepared a bucket of shame, but I don't think we're gonna do the bucket of shame. I didn't know how long I was gonna be able to like yap about all the different plants I'm using. So early spring is also a really good time to find and identify a lot of the invasive plant species that grow around where I live. So I had a couple of those prepared just in case, but don't need to do that. So let's get into our next plant. And here it is. Sorry, it doesn't look very substantial, but that's just how it is. It's still really early on in the season, but this is showcasing the part of the plant that is important. And this little sampling of plant right here is called greenbrier. So, as you can see, has a green stem, and you can kind of sort of see that we have some thorns on it. Not super substantial, but they're definitely there. So, greenbrier is actually what's called a climbing shrub, which, as you can see, there's actually some like old tendrils here that are grasping this old plant matter. Then if you go up to our light green shoot, see we have some tendrils that are looking for their next branch to grab. Yeah, these tendrils aren't going to grab any branches because this is one of my, this is a very favorite trailside snack of mine. Because once we get a little bit more into the season, these will like be a little bit longer. And if they're coming from a healthier Smilax, well, so Latin name for this is Smilax rudifolii. And yeah, sometimes when the shrubs get a little bit bigger, they're a little bit more established. They'll have a little bit more substantial of these, but yeah, young shoots are edible. Has thorns? Yeah, I don't see any early thorns on it. But once it gets about yay big, you can just take it, walk up to it, and if you can snap it off like that. Oh, we got 2 parts now. This is the part you want to eat because this is soft and supple. You can also cook this like asparagus. Apparently it's really good like that. But I'm gonna nom nom this right now. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's not really all that bitter. It has a little bit of bitterness with the aftertaste, but right now, I wish I could describe the flavor though. I wish I could describe the flavor. Because I'm thinking words to describe the flavor, but I don't want to use those words to describe the flavor. But yeah. This is a dearly beloved trailside snack. So if I'm like hiking in the woods, hiking in the woods, volunteering in the woods, whatever. This is something I love to snack on. Because that's usually where I find it. But thankfully, my birds have planted a couple of these around my house, which is nice because they also plant invasives and I gotta deal with that. Oh yeah. Sorry, I don't oh, wait. So like other identifying characteristics, and it's a lot more easier to identify it when kind of not just a stick, is it will have heart-shaped leaves to it. If you have this weird climbing shrub thing with heart-shaped leaves, probably have a Smilax. There's also a couple different species in the Smilax family that grow where I live, but Smilax rudifolii is pretty much the main one I see. I have the most experience with consuming. Glad that. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move onto some real bitter stuff here. So, what I have here is blackberry. So this is a blackberry cane, which is kind of like the stem. It's kind of like a, well, I really don't know how really to talk about it because, at least as far as like ID, because I have a lot of blackberry plants on my property that I've grown, that I've cultivated and grown. I have too much blackberry. Apparently my soil is really good for blackberries. And this stuff just grows super abundantly. So, you might be thinking, hey Sugi, why are you talking about the blackberry when it hasn't even flowered yet? Well, dear viewer, the leaves are edible. The young tender leaves, specifically. Not wanna do here. The light green leaf, not the dark green leaf. Dark green leaf is bitter. This is really bitter, but actually, the real downside to blackberry leaves. Oh gosh. Oh man. Everything I put in my salad today has been like kind of bitter. Just a bit of bitterness. Blackberry leaves are fiercely bitter. I do not like eating blackberry leaves. Granted, I occasionally put one in my mouth to just be like, okay. I thought dandelion was bitter. But let's say something that's like actually like terrible. Young blackberry, well, blackberry leaves in general, just like terrible stuff. Consume with caution. And it's not like it's edible. Perfectly edible. I will suffer no ill effects. But it is like intensely bitter. This is a strong, I don't recommend it. But I have it here today because I want to talk about it. Because I honestly didn't know how like this stream would like turn out, so, and I wanted to make sure I had as much plant material to talk about as possible. So I flipped a little bit of my blackberry because I have so much of it that I have to feed it back into its places where I want it to grow. Like it does really well here, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna do something just yet, but I think it would be real fun to do like maybe incorporate some blackberries into like one of the campfire cooking streams or something this year. I don't have any recipes off the top of my head because I'm actually looking at a pretty fierce recipe backlog for the campfire cooking streams. So, good thing for me because that gives me less to think about for doing streams and such for that, because researching stuff is kind of one of the more harder aspects of doing what I do. Like last fall, I did a stream where I yapped about my favorite fall forageables, but I did that as like a slideshow presentation. Whereas for this one, I could gather samples. I could have a whole bunch of plants, and I could talk about all the plants and all that fun stuff. So I really like how this has turned out so far. Other than the fact I got a big mud spot on my right now, but hey, okay. So we've been having this bowl of pink, purple goodness on the table for quite some time. So this is going to be our final. This is our final plant. And this one is a tree. This is Eastern Redbud, Cercis canadensis. It's a small tree, not very big, like no more than 20 feet. Usually it's what some of us call a edge species. So if you're like out in the wild this is a plant you will find growing at the edge of a woodland. So when you have woods that transition into fields, that edge of the woodland is where you typically find edge species, which is where you typically find these guys. But that's if you're like out in the wild looking for them. Other aspects of identification, which I'm going to kind of reveal as I pick these flowers off, is Eastern Redbud also has very distinctly heart-shaped leaves. As you can see by this branch I'm holding, I don't got no leaves because it's too soon in the season for leaves. Because that's just how it is. Because they flower before, well, they set flower before they actually like leaf out. So the primary edible part is flowers. The flowers are the best. But now that I've got a branch flowered, kind of see. Ooh, yeah, there we go. Yeah. So the branches have a very distinct zigzag to them. And all young branches of Eastern Redbud have a real nice zigzag pattern to them. Also, Eastern Redbud is a member of the Legumineaceae, well, actually, Fabaceae. Yeah, Fabaceae family. That's the pea family. So, coincidentally, these flowers, they have a real nice pea flavor to them. Like, of all the plants that we're throwing into this salad today, this is like this is probably my personal fave. Couple reasons. Reason one, ease of harvest. For harvesting, what I typically do is I'll just put my hand around a branch, pull it back, and then I have a handful of flowers that I dump in the bowl. That's actually how I harvested this whole bowl of flowers right before stream. Granted, the flowers are very wet because it rained last night. So, really easy to harvest a bunch of it. Has really good flavor. There is a bit of bitterness to it, but it's like a savory bitterness. It's really interesting. It's fairly distinct, but I like it. I like it a lot. But that's the thing. It's easy to harvest a lot, and the flavor's good. Like purple dead nettle, it's easy to harvest a lot, but purple dead nettle is not the tastiest thing. Mustards are. I really like mustards, but it's hard to harvest a whole bunch of mustard, even though the flavor's good, which seems to be the perennial thing of me and edible plants. Is like either it tastes good and it's hard to get a lot, like violet flowers, or it doesn't taste good and I can get lots of it, like dandelion. Dandelion, you can get tons of dandelion. Tons of the purple dead nettle. But this is actually something I can get in fairly good amounts. Bloop. It's also tasty. But yeah, I just wanted to... So I did trim this little bit of a branch off because I just wanted to show you like the zigzagging branches. That's a pretty distinctive characteristic of redbud versus other tree species. Is that zigzagging, because a lot of tree species will have very straight young stems, whereas the redbud will have a very distinctive zigzag to it. So it's a real good way to ID it, even if you don't got leaves. But there's not really a lot of lookalikes when it comes to these flowers, because I mean basically, pea-shaped, pinkish purple flower Like, it's really hard to find something that's exactly like this. That is the Eastern Redbud. Also, Eastern Redbud, well, actually, this book, Backyard Foraging, suggests, I think the flowers are a little too small, personally, but they recommended, like, actually, like, battering these and frying them like tempura. I don't see the flowers being substantial enough for that, personally. But there is a related species called black locust. And black locust has compound leaves with smooth leaf margins. And honestly, just if you want to like look up black locust in the book, look it up in the book. But it forms a long string, well, not long, but like maybe about yay big, of white flowers, probably 1 month from now. 1 month, well, 1 month to 2 weeks from where I'm at. And those have been recommended in a couple of my books to be made up in timber. Oh. Check a thing. Because they actually have here we go. Yep. So, my edible wild plants field guide. They have symbols for how to best consume a plant, and then fritter. I think fritter is the word. Fritter is basically something you can batter and fry up in oil. So that's basically like tempura, and I think black locust is in. I don't know. They do it by color. Oh, that's how they organize. Okay, let's actually go to the back, because I should be able to find an illustration of, yeah, black locust. Okay. Oh, there we go. Wait. Berries. Bittersweet. Wait. I know you have black locust in. Don't have it under black locust. Have it under the Latin name. I want... There. Robinia pseudocadia. 184. Wait, what? Oh, is it in the plates? Be in the plates. Okay. No, it continues. Okay. Oh yeah, spend time with your books to learn your books. There we go. So this one right here is black locust. So you have large compound leaf, very smooth leaf margins, and then you have a pea-like flower that's in like a long stem, or like a wisteria. But yeah, flowers, you can make a nice like tempura thing out of them, which is related to these, but that's not the entire thing. I'm gonna be slowly adding these because I found a few stems. Sometimes you'll break off like a small stem off the tree. And then I want to just... Oh, yeah. Take that. That. Oh, stuck to my thumb. But yeah. I'm going to avoid stems. Rest of those in there. And I just like to thoroughly incorporate all my greens, so. As you can see, get everything mixed up. But here we go. So this is the salad as it is now. Well, I don't care if I get you dirt, so I can put you there and keep food bowl off the dirt. So we're gonna be doing a little bit of fixing up, and I'm gonna properly fix up the salad, and that will be today's stream. So I have some goodies behind me. So goodie number 1 for my salad, the onion. Grab some nice red onions here. And this is actually like probably like, in my opinion, the best way to eat wild edible plants is to incorporate them into another dish, because otherwise they tend to be a little too bitter, it can be a little hard to eat, if I'm being honest. So it's good to throw some other good stuff at them. So here, also add a little bit of salsa. By the way, this is the salsa I made on stream last year. Yeah. Salsa! Great stuff. So we're just gonna be adding, just add like a nice drizzle of salsa. Get that nice acidicness from the tomatoes. And then, croutons! I am a terribly massive fan of croutons. But yeah, hit this with some good old croutons. Real good stuff. And some Parmesan cheese. Yeah. Sure, some of you have heard me talking about how ridiculously bitter a lot of these plants are. Some of them are. Some of it's a personal taste thing. Yeah. Fixing up some wild veg with some fixings is definitely the best way to enjoy it. Yeah. And there we go. The completed salad. Yeah. One wild green salad. We talked about a lot of plants. I got to yap about plants. Overall, hell of a good start of my vacation. I've started vacation today. Today's the first day of it. So, I'm going to be on vacation all through next week, but I will be streaming next week, because I will actually be back from the trip part of my vacation late Wednesday, whatever. So, just kind of like being a heads up. Next stream is going to be on next Friday, so I'll be basically gone for a week. So, sorry about that. If anyone happens to miss me, sorry, but hey, gotta go have some fun. But yeah, I'm thinking for Friday stream, I'm gonna be working on pruning up my grapevine in the front of my house. So we'll do a little bit of work on that. I know a lot of people like my woodworking streams, and I'm sorry that those have kind of been sparse. But right now it's early spring, and there's just a lot of opportunities for me to be doing gardening related stuff. Like, kind of, well, this is kind of gardening related. I mean, you can technically mean, a lot of these plants are also weeds that grow in my garden, but I can just, hey, when I pull the weeds, I can just toss them into a salad bowl rather than like other than like the compost bin or whatever. You know? So we'll be working on cleaning up a grapevine, doing some viticulture, which I think that would be kind of fun. Might be, it's going to probably be a lot more awkward on my part logistically, but I am also looking forward to doing that because, hey, I want to do more. I really want to do more gardening related stuff. So I'm going to take the chance to do that. And then and then on Saturday, and this isn't going to be, this is like next week. We're going to be doing campfire cooking, and we're going to make stew with the last bit of the venison I have. So we'll finish off the venison, and yeah, that'll be good. So there'll be 2 upcoming streams next week. So that's going to be that. Thank you very much to everyone who tuned in today. I hope you had fun. I hope you perhaps learned a little bit of something about wild edible plants. And this is Sugi Yamagawa. Regardless of it being day, night, evening, morning, whatever, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and also a very lovely weekend. And with that, bye-bye. Woo! I gotta go eat a salad now. See ya.